I'm just completely stunned by this film in so many ways. I am just dumbfounded and just completely surprised how much this film is receiving. I really don't know what to say other than just you need to do better. The people who are involved in this, they need to do better. Honestly, it hurts me.
I got the 4-pounder sitting right here. Don't try nothing funny.
Highest to Lowest is directed by Spike Lee with a screenplay by Alan Fox. The film stars Denzel Washington, Jeffrey Wright, Ilfenesh, Hadera, and Rocky. According to IMDb's plot synopsis, when a Titan music mogul is targeted with a ransom plot, he is jammed up in a life or death moral dilemma. Spike Lee is considered to be not only one of the most talented and prolific black directors to date. Anytime anyone mentions a lot of directors, but mainly a lot of black directors working in the field, everyone is probably going to have Spike Lee somewhere in the very top list, but just of all time. There's a reason why this man has such an eclectic but also just well respected filmography to a lot of people. Whether it be films like Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, and Black Klansman, they are considered to be his best works to date, and no matter what it is, this man will always try to find ways to keep the commentary on social inequality and racial injustice going on, and something that I think to this day should always be addressed. It should always be the conversation, and for Spike Lee to keep on continuing to do that after many years of being in the film industry, it's pretty impressive to say the least. Along with Denzel Washington, who is also widely regarded as one of the most talented black actors of his generation, but just of all time. This is now their fifth collaboration together, but the combination of having Spike Lee and Denzel Washington is just insane to me. Washington will always be remembered as an actor that a lot of people always admire and always are captivated whenever he's on screen. And then Jeffrey Wright as a bonus, who is also another actor of his own right that is, I feel like, really underrated in the industry. And you got yourself a film right there. That is already a cool trio to have in your film that makes you just now curious as to what this movie is. Though it's a Spike Lee joint and a Spike Lee joint at heart, it's based on an Akira Kurosawa 1963 film High and Low, but of course this is Lee's film. He is taking something that was already pre-existing and just kind of making it more of a modern slash English take on that same story that Kurosawa had tackled. With a limited theatrical release, I wanted to catch it on the big screen before its streaming debut. If you know me, I love films, but also I love seeing movies in the theater. I always appreciate seeing what so many talented people did to bring this entire movie together, regardless on if it's good or bad, because of course there is always going to be good or bad movies. I still want to see who and what put in the amount of effort that they did to bring a movie to life. And upon watching you guys, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'm really shocked. I'm just baffled. And the reason why is because how is this film only playing in limited theaters? Like, seriously, how? How is it in 2025, Spike Lee and Denzel Washington made a movie together? And guess what? Not only does it get a theatrical release for 1 week, but it's just going to go be dumped onto a streaming service. It's insane to me because I'm telling you, I found myself glued to the screen every single time, and I was just mesmerized by how this film played out. That is how great and how effective Spike Lee and Denzel Washington have when it comes to a film. It's crazy to me to think that just having the notion that there were only two theaters playing this near me, and they weren't like the ones that I usually go to, but the one theater, which I appreciate watching it there, it was kind of awesome, but it was just crazy to me that how is this not getting a wider release? It it blows my mind. But before addressing my criticisms with this film, here are the positives. The performances are captivating, the entire cast, but mainly Washington and Wright are electrifying, keeping it engaging from beginning to end. Like I mentioned, Denzel Washington. This is an actor who needs no introduction when it comes to just how much of a titan he can be on screen. He can really keep you just engaged with what a movie is and keeping you just glued to the screen whenever he is delivering monologues or just delivering his lines with other actors. He is so terrific in this movie, as he always is, and it's just cool to see a guy like this who is, I believe, in his 70s, still able to knock it out of the park every time. And to me, I don't even think he's an old guy. I think he looks amazing for his age, and I really am sad to know that it's going to get to a point where this might be one of the last times he collaborates with Spike Lee, because, man, he was really terrific in this movie. And same with Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright in this movie is just great, but also just at times really interesting to watch on screen, because this is a guy who is the assistant to David Kane, Denzel Washington's character, and seeing him have his little interactions with Kane, just both Denzel and Jeffrey Wright just riffing off each other. It's almost like this was tailor made with them because of how much they are able to keep the movie's energy going and keeping it feeling vibrant and very lively with their back and forth banners. It's amazing, but the two of them, just on their own, in this movie as well, they are all terrific and solid throughout. Direction is phenomenal. Director Spike Lee infuses his slick and stylistic way of handling this crime thriller, offering some connective and fluent directing. Spike Lee is a director who is known for really pushing the messaging of his films, but also just his stylistic choices. How he is able to set a mood and atmosphere, how he wants characters to feel in the moment and in the present. And what he really wants characters to feel is if you want to know what it means to be not only just seeing this music mogul just be at the top and feeling like he is powerful, but realizing how much this is a guy who has this sort of complexity in the sense of how much he is willing to go with this whole situation, this whole kidnapping, how it ravels and how it goes further. It shows you how much Lee wants to keep you really invested on what is going on in the moment and making you really feel as if you are really in the moment that these characters are feeling with this whole kidnapping situation. And to me, I think Spike Lee is one of those directors that's able to pull off that slick stylistic choices that a lot of directors try to do, and they just really miss the point, or they feel like it's always style over substance. This is a movie that has style, but it also has substance, and they blend together so well. He is probably one of the few directors out there today who can still manage to infuse both of those combinations together, and for that, he made a film that is very much of his style. The cinematography is beautiful. Cinematographer Matthew Lebatic shoots a gorgeous and lively film that showcases New York on display. It also feels like it is a street level movie, especially for 2025. Usually, whenever movies like these always showcase city, you can always are going to find ways in which is CGI, green screen, and all. This movie feels purely like they shot on location in New York City. And I was also surprised on not just the stylistic choices, of course, but just really on how Matthew Lebac really wanted to liven the scenes up with a lot of actors in the background and really just getting to the nitty gritty of the drama and showcasing not just the city of New York, but I think just really this simple story of a kidnapping and how you see this really moral dilemma that David King, Denzel Washington faces in this film, and you get to understand his point of view and how on the surface he seems like a really nice and charming guy, but in the inside there is a guy who feels as if everything is riding on the line with regards to not just his son's kidnapping, but rather his legacy as a whole, what it means for him and his business, and how it will affect his family's lives even further. And it's awesome to see how much they are able to capture even just the smaller parts of New York City in terms of like basements or city apartments. I thought that was amazing. And in this day and age where I love seeing a lot of on-set locations, it's kind of cool to see a movie of this caliber and on this scale still capture that feeling all around. The music is stellar. Composer Howard Drossen implements orchestric and jazz score that heightens the film. Also, the licensed music also fits well so easily. There is something about the way Howard Drossen approached this movie with using orchestral music and the jazz of it, especially with piano, and how much, sure, they could have just used regular music that we all know, but he was able to infuse something that a movie like this, you wouldn't expect music of that caliber to be fitting into this movie, but it fits so well, so easily. And again, the licensed music in this movie, it also complements with what the movie is supposed to be. Is of course talking about the music industry, how much the music industry, especially in black culture, and how much that has an affinity for the black community as a whole. And I think that is awesome to see how much they are able to blend both of those together and fuse something that feels as if it is natural. The story is fascinating. Following this music mogul trying to get back his son was exciting and interesting to watch. It may be a remake, but it was a roller coaster from beginning to end. I found myself invested. I was very much interested in what was going on, how much you get to see again this music mogul who has been in the game for a very long time with his son being kidnapped. And there's a part of him who wants to do it, but then there's another part of him later on in the movie where he's facing a choice about it and how much that is conflicting him, how that's eating away the idea of, well, if we do this, it will take away all the hard work that I've built for my family, and everything with it will be gone. And to see Denzel just captivate us throughout this entire movie with this sort of dilemma was really fascinating. It was really interesting. It kept me really engaged with what was going on and really interested in what was going to happen next. The screenplay is effective. Writer Alan Fox crafts a script that is powerful and hard-hitting with every scene. It also adds some humor that actually works into the movie. There's a couple of times where the humor just lands very well, especially with Jeffrey Wright. Alan Fox managed to write a script that is showcasing a power dynamic in a tense situation like this. How the kidnapper feels as if I can do this to this music mogul and make him lose everything the same way that me not being at his level, I can make him feel like how I feel. He's not as powerful as people say he is, and how much I have so much more to gain and so much more to give to people than this music mogul can ever have. But it is the dialogue and the conversations that characters have in this movie that was really interesting to watch this all play out so well because of how well written this movie was. The production is solid. Seeing the effort in the crew work, locations, and sets, it shows how it paid off. Feeling within a good range with its budget. Of course, there has not been a estimated amount on how much was spent, but I feel like a good amount was utilized in this movie to where, of course, they utilized not only just New York City, but using some sets. And also, the crew work in this film worked out very well, especially when it's in New York City. It's crazy to think that they are able to get away with some of the stuff that I just don't think in today's day and age would happen. But it played out very well, and the production of the entire movie is very much of good quality. Social commentary is relevant. Having a comment on the music industry and a man's own choices was intriguing and stellar, making it all work seamlessly. As we all know, what the music industry does with regards to not just music, but black artists, how much black artists feel as if they don't get the appreciation and recognition that they deserve because, of course, is their music. Music is part of their culture, and how much the music industry can siphon that from so many talented people. And while the executives and the higher ups they get richer, the artists they feel like they are always underappreciated. They don't feel like they are ever noticed, and they feel like all the pain and hurt that they go through and the hard work that they put into song or an album just gets undermined because all the rich people get away with the profits and feeling like they get the more respect or dignity that they get than the artists themselves. And then, of course, you also have, again, this whole thing about a man's own choices, how his choices have consequences, how much he tries to outweigh the scales and balance of the whole situation. How it will paying this can do this, but doing that will also cost this. So it's always like a teeter back and forth on how much you get to see it all affect everyone. That said, there are a few issues that does hinder it and does affect the film to where I wish these were changed, because if they were, it would help this movie out so immensely in being one of the best movies of the year overall. So here are now the negatives. The pacing runtime is extensive. Every scene does go on a bit longer than it should be. With a runtime of 2 hours and 13 minutes, I think it should have been trimmed down just a bit. It does get to the point, especially near the end of the movie, where I feel like it just kind of goes on much longer than it should. And there are parts in this movie where I think you could probably get rid of or just trim down in certain areas to where it could probably make it much shorter and a little bit tighter. The editing is messy. Every cut and some transitions feel awkward and oddly put together. Wish it could have been much more tighter. A lot of the times with the editing, you'll sometimes see a character doing one thing and then the next they're doing this in like the very next shot, and it just feels like the cuts just don't work very well altogether. And again, the transition that happens twice in this movie, I won't deny it's a little bit weird and a little bit odd to put in the film because it just seemed like it didn't need that, but I guess it is a very stylistic film. I understand, but I just don't think it really serves the movie much when it's being put in. So overall, the editing just becomes a mixed bag. That said, Lee and Washington delivered on a solid and engaging film that was well put. As always, these two are always on their A game, especially when they are together. This is a duo that I think a lot of people don't talk about as much. Just the idea of these two working together is just always awesome. And sure, yeah, its pacing and runtime and editing does affect it, but it's not enough to ruin the whole experience. Overall, I found myself really engaged with what this movie was trying to do. And even though, yes, it's a remake, I really do consider this to be probably one of Spike Lee's best movies. And of course, that's a very easy thing to say because a lot of the movies that he does do are very much amazing in their own rights. But still, he delivered on something solid. And of course, Denzel Washington really knocks it out of the park. But then again, he always does. I'm going to give highest to lowest an 8 out of 10. I found myself really engaged and intrigued by what this movie was and what it had to say, and really just going along with the drama and how much the dilemma is eating away at Denzel Washington throughout. And he delivers an amazing performance along with Jeffrey Wright. And Spike Lee, for a director of his caliber to still be making movies, it's insane, but still, it's crazy to me that this is only getting a very limited theatrical release. If you have a chance this week, if you are interested, again, if you really want to go out and see this movie, I highly recommend it because of how much this movie deserves the respect that it does, especially in a day and age where, because this is going to be on streaming, that you're just going to watch it in the comfort of your home, which, okay, yeah, that's cool. But if you ask me, watching it on the big screen was just amazing. And it was just mesmerizing to watch from beginning to end. So I will be soon doing a review for Caught Stealing. And that review will be at the beginning of September. So as of right now, that is it for the August films. But still, we have that one left. So yes, look forward to that review and other reviews coming soon.